My name is Vincent Tsang, and I'll be talking about the process of the Constance tool. So initially I made some sketch models, scaled sketch models, which helped me to really see sort of the aesthetic properties as well as the structural properties of the stool. Straight from that, I went into SolidWorks to try and create, as best as possible, my sketch model to scale, as well as learn the new features that we learnt about the sheet metal bending as well. And then I created a rendering to better explain the sort of the overall appearance of the stool. From there, using that CAD model, I went straight into a one-to-one scale cardboard model. Creating the scaled model was super easy because the Aluca bond was actually 3 mil, and so was the cardboard. So that gave it a really nice sort of scaled representation, as well as see some structural properties as well as aesthetic properties. So already I noticed that the scaled model was very stable, as well as however, it took a lot of space. So because the legs were quite widely spread out. I used red markings just to annotate points where I just wanted to shave off points of the design. I also noticed that there were some very weak points in the legs, I decided to make some tabs at the bottom, which sort of reinforced the structure of the legs. I also wanted to make the legs a bit slimmer as well, as you can see in the red annotations there. And so from there, I developed and refined the stool into Stool 2.0. As you can see, it's a lot slimmer, a lot sleeker, but it was also a lot more structurally stable. And so as you can see, the Stool 1.0 was actually quite tall compared to Stool 2.0. And actually users found that the stool was too tall as well as too wide, and so I sort of fixed that. I also fixed the sort of the angle of the base as well. And from there I went straight into laser cutting the plywood base. And so I used laser cutting because I needed the tabs at the bottom to align perfectly, as well as the holes at the top. And so the laser cutting really helped. And so from there, I laminated the laser cutting sheets, and I glued them, and then I sanded them down, and they ended up looking pretty much accurate to the CAD model. And so the 3 holes as well, they aligned perfectly. And so once I got my hands on my Aluca bond legs, I decided to screw one leg in just as a test piece, and I found that the tabs actually aligned perfectly to the base. But the issue was as tested in the cardboard model, the weak points are also there on the Aluca bond legs, and so the first leg failed on me as well. I also finished the base with Danish oil, and that gave it a really nice finish. Originally, I wanted to put the end caps using some quite large screws. I wasn't able to obtain those screws in the end, so I created some wooden dowel fasteners using pine on the lathe, and they ended up being really good substitutes, and they added to the aesthetic as well of sort of the interplay between sort of the Aluca bond and the plywood. Assembling it, I did have some issues. I decided to screw the bottom first, and then that ended up misaligning the top. I reassembled it. I assembled the top first, and then screwed in the base, and that ended up working. And so the Constance stool ended up being a very stable stool. There's hardly any sort of flex in the legs when you sit on it, and so it ended up being quite well, and the 2-colored Aluca bond gave it a really interesting look as well. Thank you.